The Fogger version 5.0. Let's have a look. So up for review today is the Fogger version 5.0. You can get that to focus. There we go. Fogger version 5.0. So this is a dual coil kind of K-Fun style RDTA, rebuildable dripping tank atomizer. I guess that would be appropriate for this RDTA. Dual coil design, and they've made changes to this compared to the 4.1. Those changes are spring-loaded posts and posts with actual holes through them, so there's no more wrapping around the Phillips head screw. So that is awfully convenient to have that now, posts with holes in them. They are spring-loaded. I will show you in the up close these spring-loaded posts, as well as a top fill. Now, maybe you're asking me, hey Tool King, how the hell do you fill that from the top? Well, Jimmy, we simply unscrew the top. Voila. Okay, there's an O-ring there. I'll show you in the up close how that works. Very nice change. That's all I can say about that. A very, very nice change. Let's have a vape. So when I was building this, I did notice that the well depth where you would supposedly place your cotton into the juice wells has diminished, or they've made it smaller, which I think does help with the wicking or the wicking issue that was present in the 4.1. So good on them for taking care of that. They've lowered the deck height to eliminate the length of the juice wells. We'll get to that in the up and close as well. But this thing vapes like a beast if you put the right build in it. You can see on mine I have completely eliminated the airflow adjustment ring. We also have this black dot here right there. That is not an airflow hole. That there is not an airflow hole at all. I'll show you what that's about too, what I think it's about anyways. Not 100% sure on it, but we'll see. Here we have the Fogger version 5.0 atomizer by Yilung or Lung. You have one set. See on the back of the box here, it just gives you very, very, very simple instructions on how to assemble this. We have our features on top of the box. Now, upgraded airflow control. Not too sure about that one. We'll get to that when we get to the teardown. There's a security seal here, along with their patent number. Magnetic box. Flip it open. Very simple. Here's the Fogger version 5.0 and your spare parts bag. Now, in the spare parts bag we do have insulators. We've got a post insulator for the bottom 510, and we do have a deck insulator there as well. We have lots and lots of extra O-rings, and there's a couple things missing from this bag which I'm going to get to when we do the build. So let's go ahead, get into the teardown of this. We do have a removable drip tip. I'll just give you guys a quick view of the outside of the Fogger version 5.0. Now you can see here the airflow control ring is all the way open. It won't go any further up. I'm sure if I unscrew the base, this part right here, it will raise and I can open it a bit more, but I've just decided when I do my builds with this, I actually just completely remove the airflow control ring entirely. So we have our removable drip tip here. On the bottom we do have a copper connection pin, adjustable to a certain extent, back up to the top. The top unscrews for our top filling of this device. You can see there is an O-ring there, as well as a small divot here as well, so you can get at the O-ring itself. Kind of pry it up, remove that. And you can see we have two holes here, one bigger than the other. Now, I've been using the bigger hole to fill the tank up, and the smaller one I just assume is some kind of air feed for when you're filling it or when you're emptying it. You can empty it from this hole and you won't get chugging or any kind of vapor lock from trying to pour out your juice. And this is definitely a very, very, very good improvement on Yilung's part for having the top fill. Much needed, especially if your build goes wrong and you're not sure, you're just trying it out. If you use the bottles I use anyways that have the needle tops, you can get in there with a needle top and extract the juice just by squeezing the bottle before you put it into the tank and slowly releasing pressure on the bottle when it empties. These are the needle tips that I use, and if I have one sitting around, which I think I do, the snub nose bottles, you're going to have extreme difficulties with this. You're going to have to let it bleed in with these snub nose bottles. So if you do have an old starter kit with the snub nose actual steel needle bottles, that will help you out a lot in this situation. So we've removed our top cap, which allows us to fill the device. Go ahead and remove the secondary top cap with the Fogger logo in it as well. See, there's nice engraving there that's not laser etching. Unscrew this, comes out. We have our seated O-ring in the top cap there, our glass. We have our chimney, our two-piece chimney, just like the Fogger version 4.1. Does have a small O-ring on the top of it as well as one at the base. And you can see just inside the cylinder there, inside the chimney, this can be a little bit of a bugger to get off sometimes, especially since I have left a bunch of juice still in the device. So you can unscrew it, and then our very bottom glass holder or tank piece. Then we have our airflow control ring, which is very smooth moving, by the way, and I think the reason for that is, for some reason, they've stuck this little rubber grommet in here, and it is quite difficult to get that out. So, but I have taken it out. I'll take it out for you guys and show you exactly what's behind it, which is a whole lot of nothing. Well, now I can't get it out. It's being a bugger. So we'll just leave it in there. It's supposed to, what I think it's supposed to do is just put slight amount of pressure on the airflow control ring and kind of keep it from locking up. But now you can see these right here are spring-loaded posts instead of having screws. Let's see if I can get the camera to adjust here. So you can see our deck there as well. We have airflow coming in from both sides, from here, and then straight up underneath the coils. Good design on their part for having the posts with holes in them. Now I don't know if you guys can see this, but this post here, the post hole is kind of going out that way. It's crooked. I've tried to fix it. It won't fix. It's crooked as all hell, which makes it a kind of a bitch to build on, but it's doable. So you can see our juice wells there. I do have the Fogger version 4.1 here. I'm just going to crack this open for you guys. I'll show you exactly what the differences are. Alright, so here we go. This is the Fogger version 4.1 and this is the Fogger version 5. You can see the juice wells, the size of the juice wells has increased and shortened on the 5.0 compared to the Fogger version 4.1. Airflow holes appear to be the same. Maybe they're the same, they just, it looks like they've kind of flared them a little bit on the 5.1 or 5.0. You can see our deck has changed a little bit. The two bottom portions, these threads and these threads appear to be the same, but from there up is a completely different. So no more Phillips head screws and wrapping around Phillips head screws. We've got spring-loaded posts. Now I'm going to get to this in a second when we go to do the build, but there you guys go. There is an up-close look at the Fogger version 5. Guys, let's do a build on the Fogger version 5. So get all the unnecessary parts out of the way. Now we have our spring-loaded posts. You can see here. These do take some adjustment. You can turn them, like they do move. You have to turn them sometimes to get the holes in these spring-loaded posts to line up with the holes in the actual posts themselves on the deck. But we're not going to be using the spring-loaded posts. We are going to take a pair of pliers and very gingerly give a slight quarter turn to these upper post portions, just this part right here, and these unscrew. And there's our spring-loaded post or spring-loaded trapping device for our wire. Okay. I'm not a big fan of these at all. You can see this right here, how this one here is darker than this one here. These have been causing nothing but arcing issues for me and have caused my resistance to jump up and down wildly on my regulated devices, and it can get pretty outrageous, some of the ohms that these are actually causing the device to think that the Fogger is putting out for resistance. But we're not going to use those. I suggest you don't use those at all. I did try them out. I'll actually show you guys how frustrating those spring-loaded posts are. I'm just going to grab a small pile of this. This is a small part of the Canthal wire that I've gone through, including, I do believe there are a couple wraps or coils in there that were G-plat welding wire that I didn't appreciate losing, because these spring-loaded posts are great for single coil builds. They do not work for dual coil builds. When you get two pieces of wire inside these posts, these spring-loaded posts will not, they don't have enough tension to hold the wire tight enough. So you end up with one coil that's nice and tight, and then on the other side you end up with a coil that's kind of flopping around. Now you must be saying, well, what are we going to do now? We don't have screws. We do have screws. In the extra parts bag that came with the device, they were smart about this. They included 2 screws to go with the deck. So right on Yilong, I didn't like the spring-loaded posts anyways, so they threw in a nice set of Phillips head screws. Thank God, because I was trying to build this device with 22, 26, no, I didn't try 20 gauge. I eventually had worked out that 28 gauge seems to work the best in this device. Again, the only reason I'm using 28 gauge is because of the insulator that sits below this post right here. That is nylon, and that nylon can only take so much heat. So I usually like to keep my builds around the 0.5 to 0.9, somewhere in that range. I wouldn't go any lower than 0.5. That was my experience with the Fogger version 4.1, was that below 0.5 was when I did melt my first insulator. Excuse me. So let's do a build. Alright guys, so what I have here is just some pre-built coils that I built before I started filming, and this is 10 wraps of 28 gauge just basic Canthal vapor wire, Canthal A1 wire. 10 wraps on the 28 gauge is going to get us somewhere around the 0.7, 0.6, maybe even 0.8. It all just depends on the connectivity of the device to the device, or the tank to the device. So now that we've gotten rid of our spring-loaded posts, we can go ahead and do a real build the way it was supposed to be done on these to begin with, not wrapping them around Phillips head screws. So I'm just going to insert into the posts on one side. Now, since that one post on the left side, sorry, the right side, this one right here, is crooked, this is going to make things a little bit of a pain in the ass. So all I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of trying to center it over the first air hole. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to try and hold everything in place. I'm just simply going to take the leads and bend them up. Bend them up and in. Okay, we'll remove our screwdriver and grab our next coil. Now on this side, I've bent them up and in for a reason, so that now I can try and get this coil and its leads just on the outside of each of the posts, so that when I do tighten these screws down, everything's laying flat and I don't have wire on top of wire, and we get excellent connectivity from that. So I'm just going to try and fish this through. There we go. And it always helps to cut your leads at different lengths. Excuse me, I did bump the camera. This is quite difficult. So we've got it about lined up just above our air hole there. And I'm just going to remove the screwdriver. Maybe not, because I've completely missed that post. Can't believe I didn't see that. That's what happens when you're trying to look through the camera at the same time. You miss the important things. Get that centered over our air hole. Just take our leads, bend them up. Bend them up so everything just stays in place. Then we'll just go ahead and tighten up our Phillips head screws. Coil kind of went for a nice little twist there. It's going to happen. Okay, there we go. We've got everything tightened up now. Try and get everything centered up with our air holes. I like using these screwdrivers just because of the base on them. I can push the coil over to where I need it. Especially having this crooked post, it's going to be necessary to move these coils to center them. Alright, we appear to be at almost the same height. Take our nips and we will go ahead and nip all our leads off. Do need a little bit more light for this. And first lead over here, nip that off. Second lead. Kind of a little spaghetti factory. See now, you see how I'm wiggling this lead and that coil is moving? Okay, now that's 10 times worse when you use the spring-loaded posts. They just flop around everywhere. Alright, there we go. We've got all our leads clipped. Coils are a little janky. Okay, we can fix that up, get them all centered up again, get them laying flat. And there we go. Let's put her on the resistance tester and see what we get. These bases, by the way, are awesome. So we've got about a 0.6, 0.59. There we go. We're steady at 0.59 ohms of resistance. So we'll get her on a mech, not a mech, a regulated device. We've got it on the Segali 100 watt box mod at exactly 30 watts. Let's give these a nice squeeze and try and center them at the same time. This one's going to be a little tricky. I'm going to have to do this one off camera. Alright, there we go. Got our coils nice and squeezed. Got them centered up with our air holes. Got them lighten up from the center out very evenly. Okay, now let's do a wick. Okay guys, gonna show you how to wick the Fogger version of 5.0. Got our coils built. We've got our wicking material. This is Koga Japanese cotton in sheet form. This stuff is the only stuff I use right now other than Chatto or Shiseido. I don't actually own any cotton anymore in the cotton balls, so I use the Koga now. So all we're gonna do here is we're gonna pull out a sheet of the Koga. I'll use a brand new sheet for this. If I can get it separated. There it is. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to try and cut a piece of Koga off the same width as the coil itself. So we're looking at about right there. Now we should be able to use this one piece here, or one strip of Koga, to wick this entire thing. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to lick my fingers, twist the end, and start the wicking process. Same as everything else. You might want to get that a little tighter. We'll just insert it in there. And that's it. Now, when I cut this, I usually like to place my scissors on from the top of the deck 1 to 3, the third edge down. I just rest my scissors on that edge and trim. Same on the other side, but I don't cut the other side just yet. What I do is I like to just get the wicking material wet at this time. Kind of get her soaked in. Now that we've got it all soaked in, just going to take my tweezers here. I'm just going to straighten out the cotton just a little bit. Now you can see this is the side of the strip that I've cut. I need to, in order to have good wicking with this, with no dry hits, we need to split this sheet in half yet again. But I like to insert the whole thickness of the sheet of Koga into this, and I'll show you that in a second. But all I want to do is I just want to try and separate this in half, and I'm going to need, excuse me digging around in my toolbox, I'm going to need a pick just to kind of get this separated here. And now I've got it separated somewhat in half. I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use the the bigger portion of the half. And all I'm going to do is just get rid of the strand, take my pick, and I'm going to lower that half down into the well. And tweezers, my bigger tweezers for this. And even I can tell right now that there's just too much cotton in there, so I just need to pull out a little bit more. So with the Koga sheets, yeah, you're going to want to split that entire sheet right in half. Now this is what works for me. This is what works best for me. And you can try many different things. Like, I haven't gone down the road of actual cotton balls, but I know that you can probably do the exact same thing. Now I'm stuffing that entire well. I'm not having it so the cotton is coming out of the well, but just the objective when I go to wick this is just to not have it flush with the threads, but just below that, where it's not puffing out from the threads or out past the threads. Just kind of get it in there flat. And now that I see that the cotton isn't too long, because that's what I was afraid of, that's why I keep the extra on there, just in case the cotton is too long. Instead of going back and trimming it with the scissors, you can actually just pull on the wick and shorten up this end. And now I'm left with that straggler up there, and all I do is cut it up at an angle, and it leaves me a little bit of extra cotton right there by the coil, which I think just kind of holds a little bit more juice, keeps the cotton nice and tight up against the inside of the coil, if that makes any sense. So again, 1, 2, 3, third ledge down, cut the cotton. We'll go ahead and wick this. And now you can see that now I'm using a glass dropper. I'll show you guys how to fill this with the glass dropper as well. If you saw the top of the Fogger version 5.0, I do believe that I showed you guys that it will accept needle top bottles. This is actually, I'm filming this wicking section of the video a couple days after I had shot the first part of the video due to lost footage. So again, I'm just splitting the wick in half. And getting the other half wicked in that channel. And we're good. The wick is just sitting below the outside of the threads. Not flush with it, but just below it. And then I'll just take that straggler again. And just cut up at an angle. And there we go. We have one side of our fogger wicked, and I will not put you guys through the torture of watching me wick the other side. I'll pre-wick it, and we'll come back. Alright, there we go. We've got both sides of the fogger wicked up. And like I said before, with the Koga, I am really sorry that I didn't wick this in cotton. I'm sure the same process applies. The objective here is not to fill these wicking wells with cotton, you want to fill them about half full, or fill half the depth of the channels with your cotton. This is going to greatly reduce your risk of having a dry hit. And also what I've done is on the coil height itself on the deck, I've tried to lower these as low as I can go without touching the center post. I suggest you do that. Try and get the coils as low as you can to the juicing wells. That's going to help reduce the chances of getting a dry hit as well. So there you guys go. That is the wicking portion of the video. Let's get to some assembly and we'll go ahead and fill this. Alright guys, let's go ahead and put this back together. So the first thing we're going to want to grab is our inner or chimney barrel. Just going to want to slide that carefully over our coil and wicks. Try and find the appropriate threading as not to cross thread. Want to make sure the fogger symbol is right side up. Next to go on, just give our coils a good check, see that nothing is going to short out on us. If you're not sure, just go ahead, throw it on a device and fire it with the chimney top off, just for peace of mind. Now I'm going to install the chimney top. Threads are a bit of a bugger to get started here. This is not making me happy at all. Just wanted to cross thread there. Just not my luck today. That's okay. So next up is our base. And I have chosen to leave the airflow control ring off. In some cases, if you're worried about the device leaking, the airflow control ring is going to be your best friend, because if you decide you're going to leave it overnight and you don't want it leaking, you can close the airflow control ring completely off. That's going to seal the device. And if it doesn't completely seal it, it's definitely going to minimize any kind of leaking out of the air holes. So now that we have our base on, we're going to go ahead and put our glass on, as well as our top cap, or secondary top cap, main top cap. And then that's it till we get it filled. So I'll go ahead, I'll show you guys how to fill the Fogger version 5.1 with a glass dripper. Now this will apply to the snub nose style bottles as well. If I have one on hand here, let's see if I do, just to show you guys what I mean by snub nose. Snub nose bottles, and then we have our needle nose bottles there as well. So you can see definitely the difference between a needle and a snub nose. It's going to be the same thing for the dropper style of bottle. So all we're going to want to do is just fill our dripper or dropper. And now the objective here is just to place the e-liquid in this channel here, but you don't want to block that smaller hole. That smaller hole is going to allow the airflow from the tank, or allow air out of the tank while it's being filled. So all we're going to do is, I just usually start right where this notch is on the top, maybe just below that, and I just slowly empty the eyedropper onto the top of the fogger. And you can see that it is taking quite a bit of volume into the tank. but obviously with a needle point bottle, you can just put it right in that hole and squeeze away. It's gonna fill in no time. But this is also another option as well. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead, you saw me just fill the Fogger version 5.0, and now I've gone ahead, I've emptied it out just to measure how much juice is in it, and I couldn't get an accurate reading. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and I've filled this blunt tip syringe with 5 mils of juice, and we'll go ahead, we'll fill this up and see exactly how much juice this thing holds. Just gonna keep an eye on when it overfills. And there you go. Yeah, we've got about 1 mil left, so it's a 4 mil tank. Yeah, about 1 mil left, just over. So there you guys go. She's a 4 mil tank, and I don't think it says that on the box how much e-liquid it holds, because they don't give you an instruction booklet with it. Yeah, so it's a 4 mil tank, guys, and I do believe when I was filling it I did have a leaking issue, which is going to tell me that on that side of the coil I did not have enough wick, but we don't seem to be leaking right now, so that's good. Some leaking issues, which was going to tell me that I did not put enough cotton in on that one side. So that's going to tell me, yeah, not enough cotton on that side. You can see the leaking already happening right now. So what that means to me is I'm going to pull this back apart. I'm going to re-wick it. And unfortunately, with these style of tanks, as well as the K-Funds, this is what you're going to run into. The Fogger is finicky. It always has been. Alright, there you guys go. We got the up-close look at the Fogger version 5.0. We got the unboxing, the disassembly, the build, the wicking, the reassembly. Now let's have a vape. Awesome. This has been performing really good. I do receive a dry hit once in a while, but that was at 50 watts. That vape there was at 25, but vaping it at 50 watts, I did get a couple dry hits. Now, the first build that I did do on it, I was able to vape at 50 watts, 6 pulls with no dry hits, which blew my mind. But then I rebuilt it. I did something different. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm going to have to give this device a little bit more time. We're going to have to revisit it so I can figure out. I've got to do multiple builds on this. Figure out what it's going to take for it to be flawless. Oh, excuse me. So, where can you get this? Where did I get it? How much is it going to cost you? Okay, so I received mine courtesy of Wayne Porter at Economy eCigs. This is their logo, Vaping Kicks Ash. This is their shirt. This is their website, economyecigs.com. Okay, that is where I got this, courtesy of Wayne, for review. Now, if I wouldn't have received this for review, would I have bought one of these anyways? I definitely would have bought or bought one of these Fogger version 5s just because I had owned the Fogger version 4.1, and that was a pretty good device all on its own once I learned how to wick it properly, which took multiple builds. Same with this thing. It's still just as finicky as the 4.1, but Yilong has done a great job simplifying it. Great job. So, how much can you get this for? You can get this for under $40. I think right now Economy e-cigs is selling them from somewhere between the $35 to $40 mark. Wicked price range, definitely affordable. Great tank. Definitely going to have to revisit this one. So again, back to the spring-loaded posts on the top of the build deck. I highly suggest maybe you try them out. When you first get the device, the first thing you need to do is you need to wash it out. Mine was heavy with machine oil kind of smell and taste, so definitely wash it out right away when you first get it. And if you're going to use the spring-loaded posts, make sure you take a pair of needle nose or something along the lines of pliers and just tighten up the top of those spring-loaded posts onto the top of the actual posts, because if they're loose, what I was getting when they were loose was minor arcing between the spring-loaded these, well, I put them away now, but this actual spring-loaded device that screws onto the post, I was getting arcing in between that and the top of the post when it was loose. And also I just decided to completely eliminate the posts, the spring-loaded posts, because they're just way too finicky. I always ended up with a loose coil. You know, even though I had a loose coil, I still wicked it and everything was hunky-dory, but still I don't like that, especially if this thing takes a drop, the device falls over and that loose coil manages to touch the side of that chimney, you're going to get a short. No good. Get rid of the spring-loaded posts, my opinion. Go ahead, give them a try, see how it goes for you. But I really do appreciate that Yilong stuck the screws in the parts bag for your enjoyment to eliminate those spring-loaded posts. So definitely affordable. Definitely going to have to revisit this. Now it's working great. On the higher wattages, getting a little bit of a dry hit. Definitely needs time to wick at that kind of wattages. And again, thank you, Wayne Porter, for sending this for review. Definitely much appreciated. Guys, go ahead, visit economyecigs.com, pick yours up today. Start playing around with it. Great atomizer. Okay, guys, thanks.